In this lesson, we'll finish building our character's nose. Alright, so in the previous lesson, we were finishing up some of the shadows underneath our character's nose. So at this point, if we jump into outline mode here, and let's go ahead and just hide all the shapes we've drawn so far for her nose. Now, in doing this, the shapes that we see up here are really subtle ones. So these may be a little harder for the untrained eye to pull out, but there are shapes here to draw. We have real subtle shadows on the sides of the nose. We have highlights here on the bridge of the nose, even highlights here on the nostrils themselves. So training your eye to see these type of shapes it will really suit you well when you're creating illustrations like this one. So let's go ahead and bring our shapes back here, jump out of outline mode, and let's go ahead and grab our pencil tool because we're just going to begin drawing in some of these shapes. No, I had us jump out of outline mode. Probably be better suited to draw these inside outline mode because these are hard enough to see as it is. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and draw in a shape right about here for this highlight. And we'll just smooth that out. Just like so. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do this highlight in one shape or if we're going to need an additional shape or two to be able to pull this highlight off. So I'm just going to kind of come in, smooth this out for right now. We'll actually come in and color these here in just a moment. But I tell you what, for right now, let's go ahead and draw in a few more shapes while we're here in outline mode. So I'm going to come in and draw in kind of a highlight shape right around in here. We're going to draw in another one right over here. Let's actually redo that one here. And we may need to smooth both of these out just a little bit here. Just like so. And I'll come in here and let's actually do one more shape right along the bridge of her nose. Really slender shape here. And we'll smooth that one in some as well. Now these shapes may need to be tweaked a little bit, but basically what we're doing right now is we're just looking for shapes. Alright, great. So now we've got a lot of those highlight shapes drawn in here now, but we haven't touched these subtle shadows that kind of define the form of the nostrils and slope on either side of the nose. So I'm going to come in here, let's select all these shapes that we've drawn here. I'm going to deselect the main nose shape, and let's go ahead and hide those. Now that we have the main nose shape here, what I can do is I can kind of look for these shadow shapes. And I'm going to actually come up here, and I'm going to begin these way up here near her brow. Now, we haven't even touched the brow yet and creating some of these shadows that really model out the face. And we're actually going to cover those here in just a couple lessons. So, but let's go ahead and create this subtle shadow right along in here. So I want to come in, and I'm going to start this shadow nice and high. I'm going to bring that down and around, just sort of like that. May just come in and smooth that out just a little bit here. Now I'm going to actually come in and tweak this just a little bit around the nostril so we get exactly the shape we're looking for here. I want to get a nice smooth nostril shape. And let's go ahead and snap that one there. May need to jump in and hit Control U so we have our smart guides turned on for this one. Get that anchor point snapped right to that path there. And that actually is looking pretty good. We're actually going to end up trimming this back some. But before we do that, let's go ahead and handle the other side here. Let me just go ahead and deselect that. And let's go ahead and handle the other side. Let's go ahead and just draw in this shadow just sort of like so. And we'll bring that up and around. Alright, great. Now I'll just smooth that out just a little bit here. Just like so. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this nostril area here. Make sure we get that nice and cleaned up. Got a little bit of a bunch up of anchor points here. That's alright. Go ahead and swing that around there. I'm actually going to go ahead and soften this corner up just a little bit here. Let's raise that up some. Let's go ahead and press this button up here to convert that from a corner anchor point to a smooth anchor point. So we end up with something more like that. little bit more of a smooth transition there. I don't want a nice pointed corner there. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Go ahead and convert that over. Now we have those nice smooth corners. All right, great. So we've got all of our shapes drawn here. I'm going to go ahead and intersect these two first before we do anything. So let's go ahead and copy our nose shape. Let's go ahead and select these two on the right, or this shape on the right in our nose shape, and we'll intersect that. Bring back in our nose shape here, and go ahead and do the same thing for this shape on the left. Bring that nose shape back in one more time. So now we've got both of these two shadows. Now we may need to come in and clean that one up just a little bit. This one's a little bit too straight for me, I think. Let's actually do that now. Let's come in and zoom in on that anchor point. Slide that around there. And just kind of curve this shadow a little bit more. And I think that'll do for right now. Maybe just bump this anchor point here. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn off Smart Guides. Since we're really fine-tuning these shadows, getting them exactly where we want them, I don't want them snapping to anything else in our composition here. So we'll just zoom out now. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and hit Control-Alt-3 and bring back in our other shapes here. And let's go ahead and get some color on these shapes. So let's go ahead and jump out of preview mode here, or out of outline mode rather. I'm going to go ahead and grab this first shape right here, this highlight shape. Actually, let's go ahead and send the nose to the back. Bring it forward a few times. See if we can't get a hold of that highlight shape there. May need to jump into outline mode just to grab it. Alright, great. Now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and apply a radial gradient here. Let's go ahead and come over to the gradient panel, drop in a radial gradient, and let's go ahead and let's pull in this color right here for our darkest, and let's go ahead and pull the one next to it for the lightest. That's actually looking just a little bit too light. Let me grab my gradient tool here and adjust this gradient annotator some. Let's go ahead and pull that all the way off. Yeah, we've got the wrong color here. Let me go ahead and grab this one here and drop it down on there. That's the right color. Alright, we're going to just kind of elongate this gradient here, kind of create this nice, subtle highlight right there on the bridge of her nose. And I'll tell you what, that's still pretty strong, so let's come in and see if we can't fix that up here. I'm going to come in, let's see if we can't drop the opacity on this color stop some. Yeah, that tones that back quite a bit. And I might even come in and drop the opacity on that one just a little bit here. We'll just squeeze that gradient out ever so slightly. I'm going to smooth that down, center it more on the tip of her nose. Alright, great. That looks pretty good. Let's come in and grab our other shape here we had for that same highlight. I'm going to grab this one right here. And I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, and we're going to sample this same gradient here. Actually, let's go ahead and just grab that shape here. I'm going to drag the thumbnail over. We're going to drop that gradient right on top there. Well, that's actually a little bit stronger than what I was going for. I may need to come in and tweak these some in between lessons to get them exactly where I want them. We'll just come in and expand that just a little bit here. Let's drop that opacity down even further. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and come in here and we'll select these other two highlights for her nostrils. Going to jump into outline mode here. And again, we'll use our eyedropper tool. And let's go ahead and grab our gradient tool again here. Now, you can see the gradient annotators come up for each one of these here. I'm going to kind of position this gradient to where we get a nice highlight here at the bottom edge of these shapes. I'm actually going to come over and let's go ahead and just change that opacity back to where it was here. Alright, that looks pretty good. I may actually need to bring those shapes down just a little bit. This one down a little here. Alright, so you can see how those shapes and those little highlights we've applied in them have started to kind of bring out some of the higher areas on our nose. Now I still need to work on this highlight here a little bit, but I think it's really not fair to judge that highlight until we've come in and actually applied a shadow to these two shapes right here. So let's do that really quick. Let's come in here and let's go ahead and apply a radial gradient again. And let's go ahead and maybe bring in a little bit deeper red color. Let's grab this one right here. And let's go ahead and grab this skin color over here. And we'll work with just this shape for right now. So we're going to come in and just kind of bend this around, maybe elongate this a little bit so that that gradient goes a little further up. And let's just pinch it in some. You can kind of see what I'm going for there. I'm going to actually warm that up just a little bit. Let's come over here, go to our HSB sliders, send that a little closer to that orangish red. And let's come over here and maybe just bring that opacity up some. Well, that gets a lot darker really fast here. So let's go ahead and bring that back just a little bit here. Maybe we can actually just reverse that gradient. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Alright, so you can see how that nose is starting to come out of there. Let's go ahead and grab this shape right here and drag that thumbnail from the appearance panel over to this other shape. So it'll copy those gradient attributes. And let's go ahead and select that shape here. Just move that out just a little bit. Maybe a little bit further. Alright, so you can see those shadows are really starting to take shape. Now, obviously I need to tweak these just a little bit more. I do need to play with the highlights here on the center of the nose just a little bit more, so those aren't quite so rigid and quite so attention-grabbing. But I'll go ahead and tweak those in between lessons just a little bit. And you know, in this lesson we've gotten awful close to coming up here and really needing to start to push those eye sockets in some and pull these cheekbones out and really define the planes of the face. But we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to go ahead and tackle her mouth next. So in the next lesson we'll pick up where we're leaving off here and we'll begin creating the mouth of our character.